Welcome to the show. We hope you have a blast. Thanks for making time for the Dealer Talk podcast.
What up? Welcome to another episode of the Dealer Talk podcast. This is your host, Herb Anderson. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today, we have Mr. Forrest Ward from Calldrip. We're going to be having a conversation about a couple different things. Like, we're going to talk about response times, which is hugely important in the digital world that we live in today. But I think I want to kind of go a little bit deeper today and also talk about just how we are handling those phone calls, how we're handling those leads as they come in through either our BDC departments, or if they're coming in directly to salespeople, or whatever combination you have at your dealership. So without further ado, let's get into it. Please welcome, for the very first time, to the Dealer Talk podcast, Mr. Forrest Ward. What's up, dude? How are you, man?
Hey, doing great. Thanks, Herb. Appreciate the invite and looking forward to
when we consider, the digital world that we live in, and customers, their exposure to all the different, forms of advertisement, whether it be on their phones or as they're driving, as they're consuming information. It just seems like there's so many different things that are taking the customer's attention, and we got to take all those things into consideration, right? We spend thousands upon thousands of dollars every single month to drive customers to our specific website, to our specific piece of inventory. We're doing all these things to try to differentiate ourselves. In a lot of cases, we can get the customer there, but then we fumble it because we're not responding adequately. We're not responding in a timely manner. And I'm very, very excited to talk to you guys about that and be able to share that here with the audience of the Dealer Talk podcast.
Yeah, looking forward to it as well. You're exactly right. I mean, with today's consumers, and it's been over the last, 5 years really, but about 10 years, there's been a big transition in the way people shop. A lot of that has to do with mobile devices and access to that, which at the dealership level, a lot of times we haven't changed that process to account for it. We're still doing things the way we would have 5 or 10 years ago.
Yeah, definitely. So, so I kick things off with the background. So I want to talk to you about that. Let us know who you are, talk to us about your experience. But before that, I want to try this feature out, man. Like, I just discovered this today, and I was like, oh, this is kind of dope. Look, man, it's snowing, bro.
Oh, yeah. Hey, you must be in my hometown. I'm right here in Salt Lake City, and we had snow yesterday and today.
Right on. Are you guys, is it unexpected for this time of year, or is it pretty much in line with what you would expect?
Yeah, this time of year is hit or miss. I mean, the spring in Utah, you can have all 4 seasons, obviously, in a day. So we would love to have spring come, but yeah, snow's not unexpected for March, sometimes even into April.
Look at this, man. We're going to count you down. So tell us I'm going to put this over here so that it's not in your face. So tell us about you, sir, in 4 minutes and 50 seconds. Go.
All right. Man, I can probably sum it up in just a few seconds, but a little bit of my background. I grew up around the car business. From the time I was in high school, my dad started selling cars. We got out of farming and anyway, so I learned a lot about the industry back in the 80s, kind of dating myself. And then, worked through the automotive industry. I was working for a dealership. We were Chrysler dealership, obviously multiple brands. We even had Suzuki back in the day. Oh, yeah. But one of the things that I did when I got into sales in about 96 is we were getting approached by a lot of lead vendors, and we didn't even have a website. So I went to the owner of the group and said, hey, I'm computer savvy. I am familiar with AOL, dial-up. I've got a Sony Mavic camera. I got all the stuff I need. Let me help with the website. I had stacks of 3.5-inch floppy disks, So started posting all of our inventory online. And for those that had started back in that time, they know that trying to get 30 images of a car up on AOL dial-up was a super big challenge. And then the great thing about it is all this work that you would put in, then you would get leads from across the country. And So it was a very challenging time, but I worked my way through.
So let's pause there for a second, because that's very interesting. So back then, and you were getting leads from, different places, like you said, all over the country. Did you guys ever ship a car? Did you ever sell a car out of state? Did you ever do digital retail back in those days?
Yeah, back in those days, we got to the point where we really had about a 500-mile reach. We would advertise. One of the things that was unique is we would get some certified pre-owned, and back then that was not something that was very common. And so we would have vehicles that had high demand in other markets as well. And me and a couple of my colleagues that made up the internet sales team at the time actually got pretty decent at delivering cars from southern Idaho into Utah, into Colorado, and into Nevada as well. So we did have a little bit of success with that. We were doing about 15 to 20 a month out of our department, and we thought that was just absolutely killer. We obviously still took, leads on the floor and things like that back then, but yeah, so it was challenging, but it was fun because it was unique and different, and gave us a new spin on everything.
Right on, man. Yeah, I always like to have those conversations, because I think that we've been doing the whole selling. How do I say, without borders, almost internally, right, within the States for a while. It's just we've never really talked about that process, or not that we haven't talked about it, we haven't promoted it. So anyway, man, so listen, dude, you definitely beat the clock here. You did it in less than 4 minutes and 50 seconds, I think it was. So very cool, sir.
Yeah, you bet.
Let's look at that. Okay, that's I like this. This is a good feature. Maybe we'll incorporate it in some other sessions. Anyway, so all right, dude. So
just one thing, Herb.
Yeah.
One thing, going from internet sales, I also did F&I for 8 years. I was a GSM and a GM. So I spent over 22 years on the retail side, and then came aboard with Calldrip after using it at my dealership, where I was the general manager, early on, back before Calldrip had really been introduced to the automotive space. They were working with other industries and things like that. So that kind of gives you the full rounded picture of, my background.
Right on, man. Yeah, I love your background. I love the perspective of it too, because you've been on the other side of things. You're not just a vendor, but you're somebody that's been in it, and that's what the premise of the show is. Like, talking to people that have done the deal and are doing it day in, day out in some way, shape, or form. And so, when you work at the dealership, because I have a similar background, so I started in a dealership and then I migrated over to the vendor side before I started my own company, but. When you work at the dealership and then you become a vendor, I just think it just makes you a better vendor, right? Because you understand the day-to-day, you understand the processes, you understand the challenges.
Absolutely.
You're just more empathetic, right? You can really put yourself in your customer's shoes, and that I think that goes a long way.
It's really helped us as a company because we understand the space completely. We understand that day-to-day activity. We know how busy everyone is. We know the dollars that are spent on marketing to generate every opportunity, whether it's in person, online, phone call. And we know how important those are. And that's why we've built the tool to try to maximize every opportunity.
Right. And that's a good segue into kind of kicking things off here. Dude, so I definitely want us to talk more about Calldrip as we get, deeper into the conversation today, because number one, I think it's a great tool. It's a great resource. Number two, it's definitely needed in the industry right now. And we're gonna explore why as we have our conversation. So we're definitely gonna give you some time to kind of give us the pitch here in a little bit. But let's talk about the problems right now, right? Or rather, let's be positive and let's talk about the opportunities where we can do better, right, and gain more wins. And I think that what you just said right now is a great place to start, right? So we generate all this, or we spend rather all this money to drive all this traffic to our stores, right? And we're getting better and better. As it would be my assessment of the industry, right? We're getting better and better. We're becoming better digital marketers. We're becoming better at driving traffic to our own websites. We're doing all the right things, or we're moving in the right direction. But then we get the opportunity and we fumble. And I've talked about it on the show so many times. Like, why do we have this expectation of our teams being awesome, and then we provide them no training, we provide them no opportunities to rehearse, we provide them no script, we provide them no baseline of what the expectation of performance is? Like, we wouldn't have that on a professional team, a sports team. Why do we just have that expectation in the car business? Like, and listen, and I know it sounds like a generalization, and I know that there's some great dealers out there, but let's start there, man.
I think one of the biggest challenges, talking about that, is turnover in the industry. There's been several articles written, and a lot of dealers have as high a turn as 70% in a 12-month period. And so it makes it very challenging to get everybody on the same page. And unless you're training constantly with, especially if you're in a larger store, a store that has a lot of turnover, it's like, man, I'm going to be training these people and then they're going to take that somewhere else. So how do I maximize that here at the dealership? And I think that's one of the biggest challenges, but it's also one of the biggest opportunities, because as every one of those leads come in, when those new people come in and we get those opportunities with leads and everything else, what we need to do is make sure that we're maximizing those opportunities, regardless of thinking about staff turning over and things like that. I mean, it's what can we do today to make our team better? Because most dealers don't struggle with quantity of leads. It's just trying to figure out how to maximize, those opportunities that they do have.
Absolutely, man. And so if and expanding on that a little bit, if marketing is the message, right? If marketing is the message, then the people receiving the message, right, which typically now in these days, for the most part, is a BDC department. What are we doing with that, right? Because if we spend all this money, we drive all this traffic to let's call it the BDC department now, right? What do we need to do on the other end of that to make sure that we're capitalizing on that investment, right? Because it costs money, man. And so
absolutely.
I can't even tell you how many times I secret shop or I review the processes internal at the BDC post the marketing effort. And it's like, dude, we did great at driving people, but then when they got there, we didn't really capitalize on that because we didn't have the right KPIs in place. We weren't measuring it. And what you don't measure, you don't manage, right?
That's exactly right. Yeah, I would say that's the toughest part. There's so many different companies that have pushed BDC for the last several years. When I was on the retail side, you rarely heard of BDCs, 7-8 years ago before I came over here. And, it can be extremely powerful, but it's like you said, you're only as good as your people. And if those people aren't trained on how to handle those conversations, and then listen, today's customers are more educated than any sales rep, and especially in a lot of cases, BDC reps that really don't have an automotive background. They don't have that sales experience to know the 10 steps to the sale. And some of the things that are really required when you get on the phone with this person, you have to have, I call it a funnel process. You have to take people from the top of the funnel to the bottom on that conversation. And so those opportunities come in, and without having the staff understand questions to ask and how powerful, when we're on a phone call with someone, all we have is our words. And if you don't choose the right words and phrases and ask the right questions, not only to try to get that appointment today, but also for future follow-up, you said too, we secret shop so many dealers, and we have thousands of dealers that use our tool, and we listen to literally thousands of calls weekly inside of our software. And what we tend to hear is people are just trying to ask them into the store. They're not trying to find out what is that customer's experience and what problem can we solve for that customer. And that's really where a lot of the disconnect is understanding that, hey, this is the start of a car deal. When we get on the phone with them, we can't just invite them into the store. We need to ask a few questions and really find out what that customer is looking for. We both know most customers that submit a lead will end up buying a different vehicle than they submitted on, but it's hard to get that message to the BDC to help them understand that it's not necessarily about that vehicle. It's more about that opportunity to get them in the store. So our trained, seasoned sales professionals can show them the options once they get there.
But let's stay on that for a second, because you said something right now that as soon as you said it, I started debating it in my head, because I'm not fully on board, and I want to talk about it, right? I want to expand my perspective on this.
Yeah.
So the BDC's job is to set the appointment, right?
Absolutely.
And some people would say, including myself, well, I don't think I want them trained as my salespeople, because then we tend to give them the customer too much information, and that might deter them from actually coming into the dealership. And I know that thinking is flawed in the world that we live in right now, because the customer is spending 14 plus hours doing research. They're doing all these things prior to coming to the dealership. In some cases, they're better prepared than some of the salespeople that we have. And I've seen this happen multiple times. And so do you think that that's what we need to be doing? Do we really need to look at the BDC as a true phone salesperson? Like, let's go all the way with this customer down to let's sell the car over the phone? Or should we just be focusing on the appointment? If it is just the appointment, then how much salesmanship do we want our BDC to have if all we really want them to do is set the appointment and get that customer to come in?
Yeah, you're spot on. And when I said the 10 steps to the sale, or what a salesperson does once the customer gets there, the miscommunication, I think, there was that the background isn't there for BDC. Typically, we're just looking for someone that is charismatic, that we can get on the telephone and then tell them, hey, let's set an appointment. The problem is they don't have sales background experience a lot of times, and so they don't understand any kind of funnel process or road to the sale. And on a phone call with a BDC rep, they don't need to know anything really about vehicles. They need to understand just a couple of basic things, and they need to ask questions, right? And then they really need to sell the dealership on why they should come in for that appointment. And so, no, I think you're spot on. I don't think we want BDC reps to be, handling leads and trying to sell cars or anything like that beyond that initial phone call or follow-up calls or anything like that. But they do need to be prepared with the proper questions to ask to really open up and find out what can I do to help this customer make it to my store and ultimately buy a vehicle. And when we look at the calls, most of them don't do that. Most of them think, hey, I have to ask for the appointment. So they do a good job asking for the appointment, but they've really not inquired or spent any time talking about the inquiry that came in, asking what it was about that vehicle, or what was the reason you gave me your information, sir? Was it because you have to have this exact vehicle, color, miles, whatever it is? But those questions don't even get asked. They basically say, yep, that vehicle's available. Do you want to come in and take a look?
Yeah, so I'm about to contradict myself, but it's my show, so I can do that. Yes, I agree. That's why I asked that question, because I was like, and I often have this not this debate, but this conversation, right? And it's like, well, yeah, I mean, you would want, in a perfect world, you would want your BDC rep to be as knowledgeable as possible, because if the customer has any questions and stuff, you want to be spot on and with an answer and be professional and all these things. But there is a little bit of, hey, we're getting too much information can deter that customer from actually coming in. But then as I evolve my thinking and the industry evolves, like, with people wanting to buy online and all these things, or wanting to have that more digital experience when it comes to purchasing a vehicle, although that's debatable, I'm also on the fence on that whole concept. But I know it's the future. I know eventually that's going to be the case. Do you foresee the salesperson becoming more digital, more phone-based, and then at some point we will have to be better at selling over the phone? Should we just kind of remove that thinking now that, hey, we don't want to sell a car deal over the phone? Or if the customer wants it, why not give them that experience?
Yeah, we see it so many different ways. Again, working with so many dealers, there are dealers out there that do an incredible job. They don't give too much information. I mean, you're spot on. I worked with a kid that stands out in my head, worked with hundreds of salesmen over all the years, right? But there was a salesman that I sold Ford trucks with for a little while, and he knew every nut and bolt, horsepower on that vehicle, but he could not sell a truck. He just couldn't do it because he had too much information, and he would help the customer and basically talk him out of buying anything. And so you have to be very careful about the education level that happens, especially at a BDC level, internet team level, because our whole goal is to get them to the dealership. Now, we work with dealerships, and I actually have a son that sells at a dealership that they sell a lot of vehicles and take a lot of deposits in other areas because they're selling custom vehicles that are a little bit unique, and they have a pretty big market reach, up to 500 miles as well, that they'll deliver vehicles to. And so I really think it depends on, what your dealership's doing. If your focus is really local and you want to, be catering to those local people, or do you have something unique that maybe you could sell 500 to 700 miles away?
Right on. Yeah, I think there is definitely some consideration there. Like, there's a part of me that says, listen, if this is an experience-based business, like we talk about so much, then let's give the customer the experience that they want, right? If they want to buy the car over the phone, then make that possible for them. If they want to buy it online, make sure that they can do that. If they want a hybrid of the two, if they want to come into the dealership and, complete most of the process online, we should be able to accommodate the customer in whatever way they want to do business, right? And I just talked about this on my last session, where I was like, dude, I don't have those experiences that the average buyer does, because for me, buying a car takes 20 minutes. It literally does. I'll send a friend or a client a text and be like, hey, I want this car. And I show up and the paperwork's there. I sign it and I go. I don't, you know what I mean? So it's very hard. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm right there with you. I'm the same type of buyer. When I know, I've done my research, I just want to find a salesman that offers good customer service and that I feel confident buying from. I don't need to, obviously being in the business as long as both of us have, you don't need all of that. But what I am looking for is incredible customer service, right? I want to have confidence that, hey, this guy knows what he's doing. He's fun to talk to. I enjoy, and I might be friends with this guy, long term, because I am making a large purchase with him, and he made it easy for me. So that's more what I'm looking for, and not necessarily the knowledge, but just feeling comfortable with who I'm making that purchase with.
Right. So yeah, exactly. But for me, I would be a text buyer, right? So I want my experience to be based on that. If, some people need to go to the dealership and they need to smell the car and do all those things, and that's the kind of experience that they want. And there's some people that would buy a car online, and that's how they want to do business. They don't want to go to the dealership. So being able to accommodate that instead of trying to force the customer to this way only, I think that, that's going to be more and more available in the future, and that's going to change things, I think, for the better. But okay, so I want to stay on this topic. I want to be able to really talk about Calldrip, because, and listen, as I always say, like, you guys haven't paid me anything to do this. Like, we're not, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not getting any monetary compensation for putting this information out there. The reason why I do this is because I believe in the tool. I've used it. I think that it can help dealers, and I want to be able to leverage my audience to let people know that you guys are there, what you offer, and more importantly, how it can help them. So I feel like we've talked about some of the issues, and now I want to talk about what you guys do and as far as the solution and how you really help dealers. I'll give you my perspective, and then I know you got a PowerPoint and stuff. So when we do that, I'll let you guys know, so that if you're listening to this, you can go to my YouTube channel and actually see the data and stuff. But so my perspective on it is this. Like we talked about earlier, we spend tons of money to drive customers to a website or to take some sort of action and deliver a lead. And what you guys do really, really, really well is you allow me to connect with that customer instantaneously. So I've seen stores that we're working with a group right now that their average response time was an hour. An hour in the digital world that we live in today, that's unacceptable, right? You guys have cut that down in some cases to just minutes, Yep. So there's still some work to do on some of them, but for the most part, I think we're moving in the right direction. So any company that allows me to do that, to connect with that customer immediately, as quickly as possible, is going to be something that is extremely beneficial. And that's why I like you guys. And then the other aspect is you guys have these KPIs that you set up, these key performance indicators that you can look at. So as a manager, you can look at those things. You can listen to these calls and you can see, is my team hitting all these points that I know if they hit them, they're going to get more people to convert, right? If we can do that consistently all the time, then two things are going to happen. Number one, you're going to have a streamlined process because that's the expectation, and everybody's going to know, okay, I got to do all these things. So it makes it easier for them to do their day-to-day. Number two, it's going to be an overall better experience for the customer, right? And it's going to allow us to close more deals. So if we can, we're spending the money on marketing, we're getting that message out there, the message is coming back to us, and our team is ready to handle that so that we can convert, then the dealers are going to win more and more times. So that's my take on it. And now I want to, this is the part where we're going to jump into the presentation. So again, if you're listening to this, make sure to go to my YouTube channel and check out the presentation so you can see the numbers and stuff.
So just a little bit of background on our company. We've kind of touched on it. It's a company that I've been with, and I've been around the company and some of the parent company and technology that went into the back end for about a dozen years. But over the last almost 8 years now, I've been full-time at a company called Calldrip. And really our main focus is to take an internet lead from a now moment to a wow moment. And I think Albert Einstein said it best, insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results. And what we've talked about so far on today's call is kind of a direct representation of that. We can be the best marketers in the world, generate all these leads, but unless our process is better, and if we continue to do what we've always done, we're never going to increase close ratios. And that's what it's all about, is selling cars. Appointments are great. Everything else is fantastic. But at the bottom line, if we can't show that we're helping with return on investment, helping increase close rates, by getting more people on the phone at the right time, and then being prepared to say what we need to say to get them into the store. It's really just insane to think that we're going to be able to go from a 7 or 8% close ratio to a 12, 13, 15. We even have dealerships pushing 25 to 30% close ratio on internet leads because they have their process so dialed in. And it's not just all our tool. It starts with that initial phone call, obviously, and being prepared for that. But it's really more importantly about the rest of the customer experience after that as well, and the customer service that we offer as a group. Now, a little bit of background on the company. We do have OEM deals where we work with companies like Toyota, Hyundai, Renault in the UK. We work with third-party vendors directly, like the Costco Auto Program. We have a large initiative with them. Car Guru's also in multiple countries. They use our technology to push an immediate phone call out. And we do have integrations with the 3 large CRMs and several other smaller CRMs, but eLead, Vin Solution, and Dealer Socket. So it makes it very easy to use our tool on a day-to-day basis. Now, there's several things that the Calldrip solution does. Our main thing and what we really built the company on is that rapid response piece, the immediate response to an internet lead, taking the human element of delay, customer getting a lead assigned to them, and then, maybe being on a lunch break or with another customer on another phone call.
Listen, in the world that we live in today, like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes response time is not acceptable. It's not going to work, right? Because think about it. The customer is going a million miles. A lot of the times they're looking at you on the phone, right? And what do you think happens after about 5 minutes or so of engagement with whatever your message is, or even 1 minute? I mean, right now, if you go to your GA and you see somebody spending a minute, you consider that good behavior, right? Right. So what do you think happens after that time? They go in all these different directions, man. You know what I mean? And they forget. Sometimes they even forget. So if you're not on it immediately to attend to that interest, to capture their intent, you've lost that opportunity. Or if they're shopping you, let's say that they are focused on buying a car, they're in market right now to purchase, and they submit a lead with you, and it takes you 20 minutes, and they submit a lead with your competitor, and it takes them a minute to respond. Who has the upper hand? You know what I mean? And so that's what I really like about your guys' solution. So sorry, I just wanted to really interject with that thought, because it really makes a world of a difference.
Yeah, and I'll touch on this in just a second too, as well. Exactly what you brought up. That customer's experience or where they're at in the journey, we have no idea. We just know they sent us a lead now. But we don't know if another dealership has been working the lead for 2, 3, 4 days. We don't know if they submitted a lead 3 hours ago to someone else. All we know is they just click submit. We have literally just a few minutes to try to engage that customer and catch them while they're in that mode. Because as you pointed out, Herb, life happens fast. 15 minutes from now, we could both be running different directions, going to soccer games, watching, something else, or we get pulled away from the computer. In 15 minutes, I'm not going to answer my phone, right? So, but we see it every single day. Now, after that immediate phone call, we have a product called Review Boost, where we can actually get feedback from the customer on how they feel like their experience on just a phone call. So pretty unique spin there. Our intelligent monitoring and coaching piece is kind of what you've referred to a couple of different times: measurement and KPIs, and understanding, okay, we're getting these phone calls, we're making these calls, inbound or outbound, how are we performing? And do we have a consistent message? And so we have that built into the tool. Obviously, our whole backbone, we are a phone company, and so we offer call tracking. It's not really what we're known for. There's a lot of call tracking companies out there, but we do have a little bit of a unique spin on our inbound numbers as well, that some dealerships absolutely love and utilize very well. And then we offer an after hours backup BDC or VIP customer contact as well, because let's face it, we can't be on 24/7 all the time. And if someone submits a lead at 9 or 10 at night, and it gets assigned to a rep that maybe is off the next day, or it's a weekend, a Sunday, that lead may not get followed up with until Monday or the next morning. And so we do offer some of those services, because we do understand that every minute really counts when it comes to internet leads. So first, let's talk about response time. There's really the three main ways people reach out to you. They come into the showroom, they pick up the phone and call, or they click submit on a web form. Now, if someone walks into a dealership, they get out of their car, you see it every single day. I saw it at a group that I was recently at. I pulled up and I had 3 salespeople standing outside my car before I could even get out. And I had to tell them I was there for a meeting. But they really are all over it. You want to engage with that customer quickly, because what happens is, if you let them wander your lot, they park, they get out, and they wave you off or whatever, they drive to the next dealership. Whoever does get that customer slowed down enough and is a good enough salesman will sell them a car. So we can't miss that opportunity on the lot. Same with an inbound phone call. I pick up the phone and call a dealership, ask for sales. If I get put on hold for a minute or two, it feels like an eternity. I'm going to hang up and call somebody else. Well, that's really what we're doing with online leads. If you think about it, it's our virtual showroom, but it's the same customer that comes into our dealership, that picks up the phone and calls. They just happen to give us their name and number in a different format. And a typical response based on a lot of the secret shop that we have done, and a lot of the customers that use our tool, 10 to 30 minutes is extremely fast for a dealership to respond manually. It just is. I mean, they can say they have a 5-minute response time. That's great. They claim the lead in the CRM, do a few things, check a few boxes. But the reality is, when that first outbound phone call typically gets placed, it's not uncommon for it to be well after 30 minutes, even though they've gone through a few of the steps before. So as an end result, using our tool, we want to help dealers engage with that customer in the first 30 to 60 seconds, the same way they would at your physical location, or the same way you would an inbound phone call. From that, we see conversation rates go through the roof, because we are catching that person when they're at their peak of interest. Conversation rates increase by 200 to 300%. We see across all of our customers that 39% of every lead that gets sent through our systems, which is millions of leads on a monthly basis with all of our different users, but we see 39% connectivity with a two-way conversation. So it's pretty incredible, honestly, to be able to talk to that many people. And that's one of the biggest challenges that we have is at a BDC is we reach out, we leave voicemails, we make multiple phone calls. Whereas if we would have made a call in the first minute, we would have eliminated a lot of that workload because we would have already had that conversation with them. Now, if you think about something that Google stated, I stole this from them, but they did a study called Micro Moments about 4 or 5 years ago, and it really fits well with this whole conversation because Google basically said, look, there's 3 key things to convert internet traffic. You have to be there so people can find you. You have to be useful so they'll give you their information, and you have to be quick. That's why they called the whole study Micro Moments. It's kind of the background of what we've talked about. We know that almost everybody starts that shopping process online. Not everybody submits a form fill. Some people call, some people just get in their car and drive down to see if the car's available. But the ones that do fill out forms will typically fill out 5 to 6 forms. And this is kind of what I touched on earlier. We don't know if we're the first form or the last form they're filling out. All we know is they're still interested right then. Now, they'll only visit 1.2 businesses today, which is pretty mind-boggling if you think about it. They're doing all that legwork, like you said, the 14 to 16 hours of research. They're doing everything, and they're making their decision to come to us based on the interaction they have with us typically. They want to feel like they're going to get good customer service, that their questions get answered, and that the vehicle that they're interested in is available, and maybe a few others, and that they're going to be treated right. So that first salesperson that can make phone contact and then have a meaningful conversation with them has a 238% better chance than the second person that reaches out and follows up with that lead. I heard it over and over and over all the years in the retail side. I would follow up on an internet lead 20, 30 minutes after I got it, thinking that was acceptable. And I'd get a hold of the customer and they'd say, oh, thanks, but I'm already working with someone. And I would always think, what do you mean you're always, why did you submit the lead then, right? Well, the reason that they were working with someone else is I was too slow. Maybe another dealer had an hour head start on me. Maybe they were slow, but they called them before I did, right? So that's what it looked like. So why we feel like an immediate response is so important. When that customer clicks submit on a web form, they either want to know, go, do, or buy. And until we talk to them, we have no idea where they're at in the buying cycle. So the number one thing our tool does is help engage and talk to more people when they're going from undecided to decided. We help set an incredible first impression. We call it the wow factor. And Herb, I know you've heard several of these calls because you've used the tool, but every customer responds the old way. They try to get back 5, 10, 15 minutes, 30 minutes. You're never going to hear a customer say, wow, that was incredible. I just clicked submit. I'm still on your website, right? So that's what we call it. And then it reduces competition. If they are in that buying cycle, we want to stop them from clicking submit on a competitor's vehicle. We want to catch them when they're in the moment.
I can definitely attest to that. So I've actually heard some of the calls where the customer's like, oh my God, this is amazing. I just submitted and you guys are calling me back already. So
yeah. And everything you can do to set that great first impression helps build value in your dealership or yourself as a BDC rep or as a sales rep, because now that customer is impressed, right? Their first impression is, wow, that was impressive.
Yeah, exactly. So again, that's one of the reasons why I think this is a great tool. And again, this isn't, like I'm not receiving any compensation for this. I say those things and I know it sounds like a commercial, but I'm just passionate about what this does, man. It really changes the game. When you can get on it quickly, you're going to see higher conversions. Obviously that's a piece of the puzzle, but then you got to think about the word tracks and all that other stuff. But at least that's a better, if you can respond to the leads immediately, that's already 2 to 3% better closing than you have right now. And then you add the training on top of that, and then it's just that percentage grows even further.
You bet, you're spot on. I'm just going to play a quick sound reel. It'll be super fast, and then we'll just jump through some of the other things that we offer as well. And then I'd love to be able to show a live demo as well, if we have time for that still.
I'm still online. I haven't even finished.
That was fast. That is called service.
That was quick. I just barely sent that out.
Wow. I literally just hit send.
Okay, so you get the idea. So just super quick how it works. It's really simple. Internet prospect submits a lead. We connect to any form, basically, anywhere they can submit a lead, whether it's social media, whether it's a third-party vendor, an OEM site, our website. That customer clicks submit. Calldrip intercepts the lead, basically, and we initiate a phone call to the dealership to the enrolled consultants. Typically, that's a BDC or an internet team. All they have to do is press 1 to claim the lead. At that point, we audibly whisper the lead to them. So it can be received in a text as well. So I would press 1, I would answer the call, and it would say Forrest Ward was on Auto Trader, and he's looking at a 2021 Jeep Gladiator Rubicon. Whatever information is pertinent. And then at that point, all the rep or the BDC rep has to do is just hold the line, and it dials out to the customer, making the whole process about 30 seconds. There's complete customization around this as well. So we have dealerships that use a Shark Tank, round robin, bucket delivery. We can basically mirror however the group wants it set up. Schedules are easy to modify. We get asked all the time, what happens if a lead comes in at midnight? I don't want my phone ringing. Well, obviously we set hours, days off, different things like that for the consultants. And then phone numbers can be modified quick and easily as well. So one thing I have set up is I have my Zoom number and my cell phone number, where when leads come in, both of my phones are ringing simultaneously. So wherever I'm able to grab that the quickest, I can use either device for that. And then we have what we call flows, and they're really like a business rule, right? That set sequences. So if a lead is assigned to me and I am not available to press 1, maybe I call myself back a second time, or let the lead call me a second time, and then I'm still not available. Then we can open it up and say, okay, if Forrest didn't press 1, then let's ring the entire BDC team, or whatever the case may be. And so we can escalate that lead that typically, managers have set up in their CRM for lead escalation after 15 minutes. We can escalate it in the first 2 to 3 minutes. We can make 3 to 4 phone calls to different people so that we're really creating urgency with that lead delivery and how quick we can get back on the phone with them. Now, after that phone call takes place, we have a product called Review Boost, and it basically collects feedback. So the call hangs up. If that customer had submitted an email when they submitted their lead, then after I had a conversation with them, I can have an email go out that says, hey, you just had a conversation with Forrest. Here's a quick little bio on Forrest, a picture of him. How would you rate your overall conversation? And we get some incredible feedback from the customers around that. Some of them saying, great experience, great phone call. But if it's not a great phone call, we need to know that as management, right? If we have somebody that constantly is getting negative reviews after a phone call, we may want to take them off the phones. But that part I won't talk a whole lot, but we do connect. We have a direct API with Google My Business, where we can actually connect that to your Google My Business page on to drive reviews there, if that's something that someone wants. So pretty cool feature that we offer. And then the intelligent monitoring and coaching. Again, this is where, Herb, you touched on it multiple times, but if we can't expect anything that we're not inspecting. And right here, we have totally customized KPIs. A lot of the companies out there that do coaching and scoring, it's just a set of KPIs that you cannot customize or standard for your dealership or your process. And inside of ours, we can customize up to 10 KPIs per store, per group, however you want it set up. So examples of that may look like proper introduction, feature inquiry, trade inquiry, expressing interest in a trade. Did the consultant lead the conversation? Did they attempt the appointment? Did they set the appointment? And did they sell us as a dealership or a brand anywhere in that phone call? From that, we're able to pull a lot of insights out, and we do a lot of coaching and training at a dealership level, because what we see is certain people do fantastic in certain areas of the phone call, then they miss the mark completely in other areas. So if you look at what's here, a proper introduction 60% of the time, probably not acceptable, but it happens. Feature inquiry 50% of the time, not the best. But if someone's asking about a trade-in all the time, and maybe they're a buy center or whatever the case may be, maybe that's easier. But expressing interest in the trade is important. Gives the customer confidence that maybe we have interest or will give them more for their trade than somebody else. And so there's just a lot of things we can do. Asking for the appointment, this particular sample shows 73%. And then setting appointments at 46%.
This is, sorry to interject here, but this is another one that I wanted that I want to highlight, because this is one of those things that as a manager, think about this. Like, if you're looking at this stuff on a regular basis and you're working with your Calldrip representation to make sure that this stuff gets done all the time, every time, right? Let's say that right now at your dealership, maybe you're hitting 2 or 3 of these, right? What if you were doing all of them all the time? That's where you get, so if the response time is going to get you, let's say 2 to 3% more closing ratio, then the word tracks and the KPIs is going to get you an extra 3 to 4% more. So now you're, overall, you're 6 to 7% better at closing those internet leads. And that's where you make that leap from, single digits to double digits. Like, it is possible to close your internet leads at a higher percentage. It is possible to get 20 to 30% out of your internet leads. Just because it's an internet lead doesn't mean that it's not a good lead. It doesn't mean that it has to be, oh, okay, well, I have these dealers that are like, well, it's an internet lead. If I close it at 3%, let's not confuse conversion, right? Conversion, that's what you get as far as your VDPs and your reach and all that stuff. Let's not confuse that with how you're closing these leads. Yes, industry averages that you're going to get less of these leads. Most of the customers are not going to submit a lead form. They're not going to do these things, right? They're going to do their research and then they're going to decide on your dealership and then just walk it by. I get that. But that doesn't mean that these internet leads, you can't get 20, 30% closing, If you do these things, if you have a system, if you're strategic about your approach, you can definitely increase your percentages. And overall, that means more car deals.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Herb. And one of the big challenges, and you kind of brought this up early on in this, conversation, is the mentality of the people handling these leads. If it's hard to imagine being able to close internet leads at 20%, if you've consistently been closing leads at 5 or 6%, right? So making that mental adjustment and understanding that, oh, this is possible. And that's what this tool helps, is when you can start visualizing where you can improve to set higher appointments, which is ultimately how you're going to, increase your close rate on these leads, is getting more people in the store. But being able to visualize and measure, what am I doing well? What do I need to work on my phone skills? And can I actually set appointments at 50%? And I would say absolutely yes. I would have not believed it before I came aboard with Calldrip. When I was on the retail side, I would have said, oh man, we're killing it, closing at 8, 9, 10%, right? But after seeing some of the incredible phone skills trainers out there, some of the incredible dealerships that are consistently setting appointments around 45 to 55%, their conversion is extremely high because they know how to get those people into the store. So real quickly, a lot of that, it's one thing to be fast and get someone on the phone, right? But it's another thing to be prepared for that call. And what we don't want to do with our customers is just make them bad really fast on the phone. And we do have some customers, unfortunately, that's what they've done, is they've gotten really fast at responding, but they're just bad on the phone really fast. And so we provide some call guides and some at least basic outlines that are effective, that we know help yield high appointment sets, from outbound phone calls to inbound phone calls to a proper voicemail to leave. And then we do some role play and practice with some of our dealers as well, where we sit down, listen to calls, and actually basically grade and score and kind of take notes. And it turns into a fun experience a lot of the times, where you get to hear some of the calls and some of the comments at a dealership level. Now, we can push out notifications as well. So if someone at a dealership wants to know, hey, anytime someone at my store doesn't ask for an appointment, I want an alert, right? So I can try to reach back out and find out why we didn't ask that customer for an appointment. I'll touch on call tracking. Again, the one thing that's really unique about our inbound call tracking is that flow methodology that I talked about earlier, where we can push to one person, two people, a group of people On an inbound, that's really unique because most tracking numbers will either go to a hunt number in a BDC or they'll go straight to the receptionist, but there's no way to push it to the most qualified people. And so we've seen people use our inbound tracking from marketing sources, maybe like fleet companies or something like that, and they want that inbound call to go to their fleet team of 3 people, and not necessarily their desk phones, but potentially their cell phones as well. And so we have some flexibility on the inbound call if we're really trying to target or market to someone specific on our marketing, that we can make sure, hey, when a diesel truck lead comes in, these are my 2 best guys. I want that lead to be pushed to them first. If they're not available, then we'll roll it over to the receptionist. But I don't want to leave it in the hands of my receptionist to just page sales as, when an inbound call comes in on a truck. And then obviously we have the full dashboard with a lot of analytics and how people are scoring on the calls and things like that. So the other thing that Calldrip is really known for is our incredible dealer support. We dedicate a customer success manager to each account, and from that you get incredible support. We're not one of those companies that's hard to get a hold of, that doesn't resolve issues with our customers. We've had, I think, 2 outages for less than a few minutes over the last 8 years that I've been with the company. And so we're rock solid. We have incredible customer support.
So these guys are on it. They're responsive. They care. And that's one of the things that I look for when I'm looking at people to partner up with vendors to partner up with, is I want to make sure that those people are available to me. If they're not available to me when I need them, then it doesn't work. Then I have no use for it, because, my business is number one, right? As your dealership is number one for you. If you are having issues and you can't get a hold of your quote unquote partners, then what's the point, right? And I can assure you that these folks are on it. They're on the ball. They care. They're always available to you. And if your direct rep isn't, then there's other, you have safety net of people that you can reach out to, and they're there for you, and that's very, very important.
Yeah, we really pride ourselves on that. We've got incredible support team, incredible customer success managers. And that's our biggest focus as a company, is we're all about customer support and service. And that's really shines through, the back end of our product and offering is the people behind it, making it all happen. So we've touched base on pretty much everything we do. What I'd like to do is maybe stop sharing this screen and just take maybe another minute and just show a live demo if you think that would be relevant, Herb.
Absolutely. Let's do it, brother.
So this is just a quick snapshot or look into the dashboard that we offer. Now, I have a little bit different view here. I had mentioned early on, we work with a lot of OEMs. We have a lot of large groups that use us with multiple stores and multiple different regions for things like that. And so we've built the tool where we can actually, dive into an organization level. And then inside of the organization level, there is account level inside of there. So if I want to view all 3 of my Calldrip accounts, which is our demo accounts and things like that, I can just dive into one specific account. So this really helps from a management perspective to be able to really look at each dealership and how they're performing on inbound and outbound phone calls. Now, I'm just going to go to the sales account really quick. I've gone back about a month and just kind of gathered some of our test information here, but you can see on the 14 leads that have been submitted here, just basically as demos, 13 of those have been connected in 22 seconds. So we see a response time of 22 seconds, average call duration, 1:14. Obviously, on demos, we don't have the 2 and 3 minute phone calls or 5 minute phone calls like we would in real life, but then also the scoring as well. We can see how many calls got scored, how many were an opportunity to ask for an appointment, and how many ended up in an appointment. And those numbers would show over here on inbound on normal accounts. But again, this is just my demo account here. So some of the things that are available to us here, the coaching and scoring, which I won't go into. The thing that's unique about us too is we let stores store and coach their own information if they want to. So you can go in and listen and check boxes and provide feedback yourself. typically, we provide some of that at an entry level just to help you understand what's going on, and then give you the ability to do some of that on your own. We can quickly and easily add users and schedules and all that stuff there. And one of the coolest parts, I always call this like an advanced caller ID, is kind of the call log. And we can filter this down by inbound, outbound, click to call if we're using it for click to call out of the CRM as well. I can narrow it down by user as well, so I can really get specific. So if we're just looking at internet leads here, these outbound place phone calls, we would see customer's name, what they maybe submitted the question on, what landing page they came from, whether it's Facebook or obviously all these are my demo page, but we could see who answered it. And Kevin's got a nice picture of himself there because, his bio.
Who's that Kevin Anderson guy? That's my cousin.
He's got a fast finger. He's picking up most of our demo calls, and he does a fantastic job for us. So, we would see information.
For people listening, sorry to cut you off, but just to make reference there, that's the guy. That Kevin was the person that contacted me first when I was first learning about Calldrip, and he's an excellent person to do a demo with too. Very knowledgeable, takes his time, really. I think I drove him crazy with questions, and this guy was just very, very helpful, willing to go through any scenario that I presented. And it allows you to really learn the tool before you make a decision, right? So kudos to him, man. He's really good.
Yeah, you bet. Yeah, we love Kevin. And the other cool part, and you just kind of touched on it, we are a month-to-month service. And so it's super easy to do business with us. If you do have a lot of questions, you want to try it out for a while, but you're not sure it's going to work long-term, hey, no harm, no foul. If we're not helping your dealership, we don't want you locked into any kind of long-term contract or anything like that. I clicked on this particular call because it shows 2 attempts. So this kind of talks about our business rule or flows that, it rang out to everybody, and we can see who got rang there. On attempt 1, nobody answered. But on attempt 2, Kevin was able to grab it. So in the first minute of this lead, look at all the phone calls that we were generating to try to get someone on the phone with this customer in the first minute. And that's what we do to really escalate and make sure that that's happening. So just to show it really quick, Herb, are you on, can we use your phone? Do you have an office phone, cell phone, anything like that?
Yeah, we can use my cell phone.
All right, what's that number?
Oh man, you're gonna make me give my number out. 702-526-0900.
Hey, I know that you're all about hearing from your customers. Hey, look, Herb, I just did that again. Put a T in your name.
Oh, there it is.
Let's see. What was the end of your domain there?
dtvms.net.
Okay, so this would just be an example of any lead that goes into not only any dealership, but any business, right? Someone puts their name, their information, and maybe asks a question or two. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click submit. I'm going to turn my ringer on my cell phone because I want to try to beat Kevin. We saw that he knocks it out of the park all the time. So there it is hitting my phone.
You have a new lead. Press 1 to connect.
Name, Calldrip in. Calldrip download page for this 150. Do you have this black with a symbol? Press 3 to repeat this information.
Okay, so just that quick, and then you probably heard my phone ding. I actually got a text so I could read that as well as listen to the whisper. And then it just completes the outbound call. So go ahead and answer that.
Hey, sir.
Hey, this is Forrest over Calldrip, sir.
Right on, man. I'm very interested in that vehicle, sir.
All right, well, I'm glad I was able to get a hold of you so quick. I've got great news. I've got a black one with a sunroof. It's got your name written all over it.
Right on, man. Let's do this deal. That was super quick.
Okay, so that gives you an example of how we engage and how we can get you on the phone with every internet lead, especially during business hours. If they provide a phone number, there's no better way to have the highest connectivity with as many people as you potentially can. than getting on the phone that quick with everybody who just clicks submit, and you'll wow your customers. Now, after that call, if I'm a manager and I want to score that call, I can jump in. I have my customized KPIs. I could score the entire thing and say, yeah, he did this well. And, I didn't sell the brand. I didn't set an appointment because I didn't attempt that. I hung up. But just that quick and easy, I could listen to that call and see
so
that.
Let me interject really quick because I want to show this. So look, as immediately after the call was done, does that show? I got this email and it's asking me to review the call as well. So it was instantaneous. As soon as we were done talking, as soon as you hung up the phone, I got that.
Yeah, and that would help drive Calldrip's. Obviously, because I made the call from Calldrip, when you do the review, it goes into the Calldrip dashboard. And so I can see those type of reviews just down here on reports under happiness. And I can see what my customers are saying about me. So if you sent that back in right here, I would see, that for Forrest, good rating. There was no comment on that particular one, but if you leave a comment, we see that. And then did they click the Google review link, and did they confirm that Google review? So that just kind of gives you an idea of the customer feedback and that customer journey. And the thing I love about that piece is now you had a conversation with me, Herb. Now you've got a picture of me. You have a little bio that says something like, hey, if I'm not helping my customers, I like to be in Moab in my Jeep, right? It's something like that. So as a salesperson, it used to always drive me crazy. I would do a fantastic job setting the appointment. The customer would come in and say, I can't remember who I was talking to, right? So with this piece that goes out in an email format, I love it as a salesperson because now I'm more optimistic that when you show up, you're going to remember something about me, what I look like. I can't remember his name, but he likes to Jeep or whatever the case may be.
Refresh that page. I want to see. I responded. I want to see if it comes through.
There it is.
Sorry to excuse your metric there, man. But
you're killing me. You're killing me. All right, so just that quick, and then we can set up notifications and alerts. Obviously, if I did get a bad review as a manager and I wanted to know that, I could get an alert instantly to my phone that, hey, Forrest just got a bad review. And then I could go back in and find that call and say, okay, Herb is the one who left the negative feedback. Let me go listen. And you can actually see the negative face right there. We can see the happy face there. That means that customer left feedback. Of positive or negative. And thanks for making me the only negative one there, Herb.
You're welcome, man.
That's perfect. Okay, and then also after the scorecard is there, then we have some coaching ability, which we haven't really talked about. But as a coach, I can go in and listen, and then I can actually record audio inside of the browser as well. And then that gets pushed back out to the sales rep that took the call. So we use this tool a lot internally to say, hey, you did a fantastic job on your greeting, but when it went to finding out more information on why they were interested in that vehicle, you didn't ask any questions. We have no idea if they'll take a different color, if they'll take a different model. What was it about that car that they clicked submit on? And so anyway, the tool is very robust, and we're very excited because we have 2 or 3 new lines coming to our product within the next 30 to 45 days that will be game changing for us and for our customers when it comes to communication and two-way communication with their customers. So we're extremely excited. It's an incredible product, incredible company, and we're always looking for ways to improve and get better.
Dude, listen, I love that we did this. I love that we showed the whole thing, that we went from the presentation to the demo. We talked about the problems in the beginning. Like I said earlier, like it's not, and I know I've said this multiple times, but sorry, I forgot to adjust this really quick. So I know I've said this multiple times, but it's not, listen, this isn't a, like a a money thing. I'm not getting any compensation. The reason why I wanted to do this presentation, and I've been trying to get you on this for a couple of weeks, right? We've been trying to get this thing put together, is because I see this as such a resource for the dealers, man. Like I'm on the marketing side of things, and I know how hard it is to get that message out there, to get the customers to come in, and we can do really good on that end. And then that customer gets there and it falls apart. And if all those things are working together, right? If you have a strong marketing message, and then your team is ready to handle the response of that message in a quick and effective way, and you have all these metrics to measure that, ultimately that's going to mean more conversions. And that's why I love this. It's all about you. It's all about the dealer. It's all about helping you guys do better and get better and win more. And so dude, for you to take this time to sit with us, to tell us everything, to pretty much go from point A to point Z, to show us everything that you guys do and do that demo, like, it means a lot to me, man, because I know it's a lot of time out of your day. So thank you so much, dude. This has been great.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. And, the biggest problem we have as a company is awareness and people knowing that we're there. Getting a few OEM deals 3-4 years ago, we really pulled boots off the street and started focusing on those large OEM deals. And so a lot of people don't know that we exist. They don't know exactly what we do. But with all that we have to offer, there is no way a dealership can use our platform and not increase their sales. There's absolutely no way, especially if they understand everything that's available to them inside of the tool, from that rapid response to reviewing how they're performing, getting customer feedback, going in, coaching and scoring calls, and just really paying attention to what you're doing. Because if you're not closing somewhere around that 12 to 15% close ratio on internet leads, there is a lot of room for improvement that you can do at your store.
Right on. All right, man. Listen, I know this has been a long episode, so thank you so much for everybody that's kind of been on this journey with us. Again, I feel like this is super important, and that's why I wanted to put this together. But I have to follow the format of the show, and I got to ask you my final question. And that question is, where do you see the automotive industry headed in the next 5 years, and why?
Oh, man, put me on the spot here. I'll tell you a couple of things that I've really noticed. I think there's a few dealers that are doing it very well now, but I think the two-way text is going to continue to grow. I think that people are going to be moving away more from email and using texting as one of the main platforms. Obviously, after phone, there's no better way to have a conversation than just on the phone. But I see things moving that direction for sure. I also see, you touched on it, but I envision a customer being able to basically have something pre-bought before they show up at the dealership and say, okay, if everything is what you tell me it is, I will make a deposit right now and come in and drive the vehicle. Now, obviously, salespeople are always going to be required to sell cars. I just don't think they can be replaced. Because it is a big purchase, and a lot of people really don't know what they want. They have to be sold. They're so indecisive, right? So I just think that's probably the biggest things I see is the way we communicate, getting into a two-way text platform that's very, very effective. And we're excited that that's a space that we're about to move into, and we're excited for that. I really think that's where it's going.
Yeah, dude, I'm glad that you said that, and it would be great for you guys to kind of be the pioneers in that because of what you're doing right now. I think it would fall in line. So, listen, dude, thanks again for doing this. I appreciate it. I appreciate your time and your willingness to come on here and share with all of us. Thank you so much. And thank you for listening. Thank you for watching this. Listen, again, if you see this as I see it, as a game changer for your operation, go to the show notes. I'm going to put a bunch of links in there so you can do a demo, so you can talk to Forrest, so that you can learn about the company. If you're watching this, which you should be on my YouTube channel because of the demo portion, then go to the video description and all those links are going to be there. If you're just listening to this and you listened all the way through, go to my YouTube channel and watch this. Watch the demo, watch the presentation. This is a lot of good information. This is going to change your operation. I promise you. Check it out. Again, we're not for or against here. Come to your own conclusions. But I got to tell you, I've used this company. I use their product, and they're doing some amazing work. And I just had to put this deal together and share it with all of you. That's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. And as usual, we'll talk later.
We only host a well-respected. The vendor LexisNexis. We don't sell digital marketing.
What you do?
We inspect it with our DT vendor management solutions. We come in like the EPA to clear out the pollution.
Take the trash
Go
out.
keep your P&L clean. Your inventory lean.
From product pitches, meetings to cost negotiations, your vendors have you swamped. You have cars to sell, but most of your time goes in managing your vendor relationships. Wouldn't it help to have someone navigate the way ahead? Enter Dealer Talk Vendor Management Solutions, a filter between you and your vendor so you only have to deal with what's most important. We inspect your digital data to get optimum results for your money. Here's what we do. Give you an accurate idea of what's working and what's not for every digital service. Get vendors to submit monthly highlights, lowlights, and recommendations. Sift through their data to give you those metrics that matter. Evaluate all package, content, or cost changes and product pitches. Do monthly marketing budget analysis to ensure better ROIs. Finally, we give you concise reports and monthly videos with actionable insights. Now, you can focus on what really matters, selling cars. Contact us today and your first 30 days are free. Let's build your business together.